Hi, here is Markku Wilenius, your traveling futurist. Let's go and explore the situation in this war in Ukraine. This is the beginning of May, and we are talking about 14 months on the war right now. Often when we look at this type of the dramatic events, we're talking about the losses of the people on both sides, the deaths. We're talking about the economy's cost. We're talking about politics and possibilities for making negotiations and ultimately peace. What really matters here is that we're talking about people and families and lives. We're talking about what is the impact and effect on this to ordinary life of the Ukrainian and Russian people. Now, if you would go to ask any Ukrainian, and I believe any Russian family, would they have been voting for this war? None of them would have said that, yes, I want this war. None of them would have loved to have that. In that level of the life world, no. They want things to go smoothly, particularly between these two countries that have been co-living for centuries, and where families have been moving from one place to another, from Ukraine to Russia, from Russia to Ukraine, and this has been going on a very long time. Now, obviously, this has been really grossly disrupted by the current world. But this is not what these guys that are on this kind of a system level where you make decisions that affect the whole country. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about their individual aims or their aims, but that they think that are related to the future of their country. And particularly when this kind of a dramatic decisions like starting the war starts and begin, it is often that we find the leaders that are not very much attached to this life world of ordinary people. And certainly this is the case of Russia and Ukraine. As I said, the war has been going on for 14 months, and everybody's getting very much tired of it. Yet, it's very hard to see where is the solution. I thought last year that maybe the solution was that Putin grow weaker and he cannot hold the support for the war inside his own country. But I was obviously misled, because there is still a very strong support. And the support is there because Putin has its way to communicate to the people that this war is somehow supporting them and is supporting Russia. So he's able to manipulate, and he still does that. So there is still a considerable support of Russians for this war. For whatever reasons, the reasons that the system, Putin, has given, which often has nothing to do with the reality, but this is not what people can judge who are living on this other world, this life world. The concept of life world and system world was actually introduced by very famous German social scientist called Jürgen Habermas, who lived a life in Germany. And he saw what happened during the Second World War, when Germany was ripped into the two parts. One, which was the system world, the Nazis, Hitler and all the guys, that were leading the country to a certain direction. And then the folks, some of them which were following, but actually didn't wanna. They didn't wanna invade to Poland. They didn't wanna invade to France. They didn't wanna invade to Austria or Italy. None of those countries. They just want to have a peaceful life, good life. But they were torn to this situation. And through this hard lesson, Haber was noticed that, well, we need to separate these two worlds kind of as theoretically to understand what happens in this kind of a disruptive moments in our country's lives. And now going back to the situation with the Ukraine, it is pretty obvious that there are these two very separate worlds. And now the Levin's world, the life world of the ordinary people, of course they want to get back to the peace. But the system world is still in the stage where peace is nowhere near. And I feel that we are in the situation where the only possible solution comes that the system world, meaning the regime in Russia, one way or another, gets changed. As long as there are the current guys in power, no chance for peace, I would say. There is a lot of talk now that Ukraine is doing a counterattack, a massive counterattack, and it may have already started, but let's be realistic also about that. It might work to some extent, but shifting the balance of the power in a complete way, it is, of course, only a distant possibility, even if it is a possibility, because what's happening on the Putin side is that, yes, his power is certainly eroding. There is a more and more criticism inside the Russia. You can even see that in the press, which you couldn't see before, because the system is obviously very weak. It doesn't flow, the information, the communication doesn't flow, and it is kind of a dismantling slowly but surely. But that might still take a time, or it doesn't take that long time. We really don't know. We should be much more into the system itself and understanding what type of the feedback loops there are before we could say anything even close to the certain about the future when it comes to the current Russian regime. So that is the challenge that we currently have, and we need to live with that. The other part of the story is, of course, if Ukraine is given a massive support from the Western countries. But this war, we haven't seen that happening. Western allies are too weak and too opportunistic to see the strategic importance of giving sufficient support. So they give the minimum, which helps Ukraine to defend, but doesn't help them win. And this is currently the situation. That situation might change, but it changes only if there is a dramatic change in US position, and maybe it's Germany's position as well. But again, we don't see that type of the signals today, even if you wish to see them. So this is the situation, but let's hope that there are these couple of ways out how to deal with that. Finally, I want to say this. I come from Finland, that in the war that Russia started, we lost something like a 1/8 of our territory as a result of the war, which was not ignited by us. We made the deal, but with a big price of losing that eastern part of the Finland. But we stayed independent and we continue to progress and develop. What I'm saying is that each situation is unique and there are no fixed solutions to anything. But of course, we are now living to see what might be the real solution for this war. In other words, how we can stop that. Subscribe to my channel, see the related videos, And I want to hear from your comment, is there a sustainable solution for this war?